Marcus Williams is getting paid, and he is heading to Baltimore. The longtime Saints safety heading to the Ravens, according to Jason La Canfora. 5 years, $70 million for one of the top defensive backs in the NFL. Taking a look at Pete Prisco's top free agents, Williams ranked 7th. Pete giving the deal an A to the Ravens, saying, look, that's a great bargain for a great player. Let's welcome back in Brady Quinn and Jonathan Jones. I'm Amanda Guerra. Brady, so Pete gives it an A for Marcus Williams, headed to the Ravens. I know you don't always love to agree with Pete. Do you agree with him here?
Well, no, I'm not going to agree with him just because I don't want to agree with Pete. I'll give him a good grade. I'll give it a B, and I think I'd give it a higher grade if it wasn't Pete's take on it. But the reality is this, the Baltimore Ravens, they love their safeties. I mean, they valued them ever since the team first got there, and obviously had Ed Reed on the roster. But even signing a late Eric Weddle late off in his career, it gave you a little bit of a sense of how important they feel like that position is. And then even moving on from a guy like Earl Thomas, who just didn't really fit in within the locker room, freestyling with what he was doing within his scheme. Now you find a guy who's reliable in Marcus Williams. He plays the deep middle of the field well. He's a sound tackler in space. He also can coverage well. He's going to fit into everything they're going to ask him to do in Baltimore's scheme. So given the value he can provide, given his skill set, it's a great fit. Again, seems like a big money deal, but we'll see how this thing plays out over the next couple of years to see if he makes really the bulk of the money in this contract.
Yeah, I think it's a great deal early on for the Baltimore Ravens, one they had to make. And Brady, you just illuminated all of their sort of love for safeties over the past several years. One interesting thing is that Baltimore Ravens don't have a ton of money, and they'd love to have more money by getting Lamar Jackson on a long-term deal, except they can't really do that. He is set to count $23 million against the cap due to that fifth-year option, and, well, it's not going anywhere right now. There's really no talk whatsoever of a potential long-term extension, honestly, whatsoever. So I don't think anything's going to happen anytime soon. You look around the league and other teams are having their quarterbacks, lower their cap hits for this year to get that sort of upfront money in the form of signing bonuses and really be able to get a bunch of free agents. Those conversations are not happening between the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson.
All right, guys, so we're going to take a look at some of the under-the-radar deals that might not be getting the same attention as the bigger ones, but they are impactful nonetheless. So let's start with the Jets signing DJ Reed to a 3-year deal with $33 million. Also agreeing to a deal with Jordan Whitehead there for 2 years as well. JJ, what do you think about this?
Well, they really, really needed to bolster that secondary, and so that's what they're doing with DJ Reed, a guy who was in Seattle, in San Francisco, so he knows Robert Saleh and so much of that coaching staff. And then you add Jordan Whitehead, who is not really all about the covering as much as he is the run stuffing, so you can add to a pretty good run-stopping defense who he can cover the middle parts of the field as well, the intermediate part of the field. So I like these signings for the Jets. They always have money. They always have money to spend. I think these are very fair deals for both men. We'll see if the Jets continue being the Jets, though.
Apparently Amanda doesn't remember our segment yesterday, but we were talking about which free agent guys belong which spots. And I said you could pretty much put every one of them on the Jets. They need secondary help. They need upgrades at most positions. This is solid for them. And give a lot of credit to Joe Douglas and the job they're trying to do of building up this roster. So their second-year quarterback, Zach Wilson, doesn't have to win in a shootout every single time. And obviously, look within the division. They've got to figure out how they can beat the Buffalo Bills, considering that's the top of the division right now in the AFC East. So you better have players in the secondary who can cover down the passing attack from the Bills. And obviously, Stephon Diggs is one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. Love both signings. This is a big need for the Jets.
I apologize for not remembering everything from yesterday. Did you see this one coming? Russell Gage going to the Bucs.
No, but
and how do you feel about it?
No, I like it for this reason. I think you look at what they have already in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and they could use some speed. Gage has speed. He has the ability to separate. He actually, if you look at the average yards, per route in comparison to Christian Kirk, who's also a speedster, he had more over the past couple of years. So they get an element of that where he can take the top off the defense, take some pressure off of those two guys, and it still allows Tom Brady and the Bucs to utilize that downfield deep passing game that is in the back of Bruce Arians' mind every time they sit down and start game planning. So I love the value for what they're getting. I like the role that he's going to play within this offense. The biggest thing becomes, hey, get the Tampa as soon as possible to get on the same page with the GOAT.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a very fair deal, a very good deal for Russell Gage. 3 years reported $30 million, so that's probably 2 and 20, and then we'll see after that. But Russell Gage, all the things that you mentioned, Brady, as well as just the simple fact that, hey, he can go there, he can be the number 3 wide receiver. I love the idea of, hey, get down to Tampa as quickly as possible, hop on that short flight, and start working with the GOAT himself. I think this is a very, very good deal for Russell Gage and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both sides win here.
JJ, let's look at another deal that wasn't so under the radar, but not as talked about as some of the other ones. Lions get a 1-year prove-it deal for DJ Chark there, up to $13 million. Look, he only played in about 4 games last season because he had that fractured ankle there. So if he's healthy, how much of a boost is this for the Lions, and do you like the deal?
Yeah, it's a big boost if he's healthy. He's a guy who had developed a very early bond and chemistry with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville before he went down. He can do the same with Jared Goff or whomever the starting quarterback in Detroit ultimately is in week 1 of this season if he is healthy. I was pleasantly surprised by the money that he got. Obviously, there's plenty of incentives there that are tied to his health and performance, but I did not think that there was a huge market out there for him, at least one that he may have been expecting. So the fact that he and his representation were able to get the contract that he did, it was always going to be a 1-year prove-it deal, but that it wasn't a 1 for $7 million. It was a 1 that could get up to $13 million. Very well done there for DJ Chark.
Well, the reason why they're bringing him in is speed and the ability to separate. Outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown, they really didn't have that in Detroit, and so that's what they're getting, a bigger-bodied wide receiver who could run at a 4.3 40 speed. Here's the problem, though. He has a hard time staying healthy. He's never played 16 games in his entire career. He's got a little bit of that track guy type mentality where if he's not 100%, he's maybe not going. And so even though he had a phenomenal year in 2019 where he burst on the scene in his second year, went for over 1,000 yards, and played pretty well during the COVID year, even though he only had 700 yards receiving. He didn't play all 16 games. So I think there's a lot of potential there, and that's why this deal makes a lot of sense for the Lions. I think it could make some sense, too, for this offense and providing a different target for Jared Goff or potentially whatever quarterback they would draft to match up with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Hawkinson, as well as the tight end spot, and obviously the running backs out of the backfield. So it makes sense. It's just we'll see how this thing ends up playing out.
Should we go back to the Jets?
Let's
go back to the Jets.
You can use the Jets, too. You put DJ Chark on their roster.
Not that. Let's go to the Jets. Getting now former Bengals tight end CJ Uzomah coming off a career season for them. So how do you like this as the Jets? You mentioned, look, they could pretty much take all the free agents, but also for the Bengals.
I love it for Zach Wilson. I mean, you want that reliable target. You want to have that guy you can trust in a tight end. A lot of times within your offense, when teams are bringing pressure, the tight end is responsible for the guy to break off his route and look hot for you. We all joke about hot route. Well, the tight end's the guy who's responsible for doing that. CJ was reliable for Joe Burrow, and that's where I guess I kind of question this signing is, where are the Bengals in all this? Like, you could tell Joe Burrow and CJ Uzomah had a great connection with one another. I don't know where things went wrong. Maybe the Jets just made that much more of an offer, but however you look at this, this is a good thing, I think, for Zach Wilson and some much-needed help as far as in the pass-catching department. And again, the Jets could use a lot of help, JJ.
Yeah, and CJ Uzomah was able, when they were in that 11 personnel, which they were in 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 running back, more than almost every team other than the LA Rams, who they faced in the Super Bowl, of course. So much of that was him clearing out the bottom, the intermediate part of the field, and letting those receivers get to work and really sort of creating a lot of mismatches when he did catch the ball. And when he did catch the ball, he was fantastic after the catch as well. One of the best in the NFL at the tight end position at Yak. And so that's what Zach Wilson is getting, a guy who, hey, let me just get the ball in playmakers' hands and let them go do work. He doesn't have to think too much. He doesn't have to, be as much of a risk taker as he was last season, so long as they are able to protect him. So I love this pickup for the New York Jets. And Brady, I'm right there with you. Cincinnati Bengals, I understand and appreciate that you have to take care of the offensive line. And, you've already tagged Jesse Bates and things like that. But, man, I really would have tried to make this a priority, re-signing CJ Uzomah.
You know what's unfortunate, though, what we really miss out on is the fact that CJ Uzomah, if you remember before the Super Bowl, if the Bengals would have won, he was going to bathe in a tub of Skyline chili.
That's who said that?
That's who said that. And now we no longer get that because Skyline, I don't think it exists in New York. So unfortunately, now that he's with the Jets, we'll never get to see that come through. It's a little disappointing.
That's the chili with the spaghetti.
It's the chili. Yeah.
No, this should not be a thing. I know you're from Ohio.
It's
yeah,
delicious.
JJ, no, we're
It's
just not going to
delicious.
do that. We're just not going to go to that. Okay, let's go to the Bills. The second player they have snagged for the Commanders in the same amount of days, now getting JD McKissic, agreeing to a 2-year deal with them. JJ, how would you grade this deal?
Yeah, I think it's a B. It's a fine deal. The Buffalo Bills are here. They're loading up. I don't think that they are at all done. We talked earlier about this sort of being the second wave of free agency, but look for some of those veterans who may take a little bit less somewhere in pursuit of a championship. I really do like this signing for the Buffalo Bills because, frankly, they didn't lose too much here in free agency. Brandon Beane and his group there, obviously Joe Shane, who has now gone on to the Giants, but when he was the assistant general manager with Buffalo, they were able to keep their core there intact and re-sign so many of those guys in the past 18 or so months. And so they don't need a whole bunch of help. I like this move for the Bills.
I love this move for the Bills, really in the fact that J.D. McKissic is a good pass-catching option out of the backfield. Not saying that Singletary can't, but not quite the same way as McKissic. So, Ken Dorsey takes over as the play caller there in Buffalo now. One of the biggest things he's going to look for is mismatches. They've got one with McKissic, in particular on third down. We get those linebackers or safeties matched up on running backs. This is going to be a good pickup for them. They'll utilize him often in the screen game and in the passing game.
JJ, have you ever had Skyline Chili?
I had it once on my first visit to Cincinnati, and it will be the last time I've had
loved
Skyline Chili.
And you absolutely loved it. That's right.
A little jab to Brady Quinn here at the end. Jonathan Jones, Brady Quinn, we appreciate it. Brady, you can have all the chili for yourself. Okay, going over all these players, they're going to do this on Fantasy Football today because there's been a lot of movement over the past 48 hours or so. So make sure to download and follow and just get prepared for next season. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.